Let's get on to Wednesday Wrangle now with Liz Storer from GT Communications joining us as ever. But Justin Smith's on a bit of a holiday. Pinch hitting for him is the notorious Nicholas Reece, who'll join us from Melbourne. Good to talk to you, Nicholas. You must be sitting there very smugly with the rest of the country dealing with lockdowns and the like, and Melbourne breathing easy for a change.
Look, it would be tempting, having endured 200 days of lockdown here in Melbourne, to be smug, but I'm a proud Aussie, Chris, and so I really just want to see the whole country get through this.
Yeah, it just frustrates the hell out of me seeing the rest of the country going down the path of unnecessary lockdowns, but we'll get into some of that. Liz, what I'll do first up is show you some of the Victorian Premier, Daniel Andrews, back from 111 days leave, thankfully recovered from a shocking accident. But one of the things he did when he came back was announce that he's going to be sticking around a while, but also have a go at rumours spread about how that accident happened. Have a look.
I am fit. I am back, and make no mistake, we're here to get things done. Make no mistake, we've been upfront and clear. This stuff is just vile. As for those who tried to politically weaponise it, they're irrelevant to the work I do, and I won't waste my time or my breath on them.
Yeah, Liz, what do you make of his return and this stuff about the rumours? I mean, essentially, people were saying there's some sort of a party, maybe some sort of a fight even, and he fell down the stairs. Now, he said that's not the case. If anyone's pushing that stuff, you've got to have some evidence or leave it alone, don't you?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, trial by media, whatever someone says, they can post it, then the rumour makes it into the media by virtue of being a rumour, and the media loves the drama. None of the rumours are substantiated, and I've heard many, a lot of them very colourful, but none substantiated, and so we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I watched the interview, as I'm sure many did, of Dan Andrews and his wife recounting the story in detail of what they say happened. It's up to anyone whether they want to believe them or not. But again, until any other of the other rumours are substantiated, you gotta go with their account of the day.
Yeah, indeed. And the good news is the guy had a very serious injury and he's lucky to be back, and it's a good thing for him, his family and the state, no doubt, that he's back, because he's been a very popular, very strong leader, Nicholas. Let's have a look at what he's going to be dealing with now, because there's a lot of mixed messaging when it comes to vaccination. Let's have a look at the Queensland Premier, Annastacia, Palaszczuk, on vaccines today.
There has been no National Cabinet decision about providing AstraZeneca to the under 40s. Let me say that again. There has been no National Cabinet decision about providing AstraZeneca to the under 40s. So I'd like to ask the Prime Minister, did his Cabinet make that decision? Now, in Queensland, we always follow the advice of the Chief Health Officer. So I urge Queenslanders to listen to Dr Young and follow the advice of our Chief Health Officer.
Yeah, fascinating stuff, Nicholas, but this is very ugly what's going on here with vaccines. It's not governments who make these decisions, it's the Therapeutic Goods Administration. And surely if people have any doubts, they talk to their doctor, not to their Labor or Liberal MP.
Look, it hasn't been the finest day for the Australian Federation, has it, Chris? This, again, another day of war of words between premiers and the Prime Minister and federal ministers. I mean, what we're looking for as a people is calm, considered and clear advice, and we're seemingly not getting that from any level of government. I mean, you know, Scott Morrison originally said, you know, don't have the AstraZeneca vaccine if you're under 60, then it was don't have it if you're under 50, then it was don't have it if you're under 60. Then last night he seemed to be saying, well, everyone could have it, and now you've seen the premiers jump at that because he said that came out of a National Cabinet decision. My understanding of what has actually happened is the advice around AstraZeneca vaccine hasn't changed at all, and that it's always been available for anyone on the advice or through consultation with your doctor. It's just that the federal government or any of our political leaders weren't really advertising that. And Morrison decided yesterday to actually advertise that and then said it had been agreed at National Cabinet, and that's what's caused the premiers to now fire up. But, you know, it's a real mess, isn't it? As I said, what we need at this time is calm, considered and clear advice, and we're just not getting it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just been advice from government. People can go through their doctors and get what they require. What troubles me, Liz, is that the way they weigh up the risk here, you've got the risk of the vaccine, and they weigh it up against not just the risk of if you get infected with the disease, but they factor in your chances of getting infected. Therefore, with hardly any virus in this country, you know, the risk of getting infected is so low. And apart from affecting the risk management of this issue, it affects the population. When we have a zero tolerance, an elimination strategy, people know that there's very little virus around, so their propensity, their incentive to go and get the vaccine, of course, is diminished.
Yeah, it's naturally low. I mean, why? I don't get the flu jab. Why? Because I'm not that worried about getting the flu. I'll have a sniffle for a few days and then nothing and I'll be perfectly fine, which is also the case for the vast majority of us. That would be our experience if we got COVID. And so I completely understand people's lack of enthusiasm for getting it. And then to add insult to injury, we've got all this palaver over AstraZeneca. We know it's the vast majority of the vaccines available in Australia are AstraZeneca. And I think what really happened yesterday is the government's finally just gone, look, this is the vast majority of vaccines we have. People are totally turned off it, partly in due to everything we've been saying about it. The risk that we have completely and utterly blown out of all proportions, scaring people off getting it. So now let's suddenly just make this the most readily accessible, easy to get vaccine because we got to use it while we got it. Meanwhile, everyone's at home going, I'm waiting for the Pfizer, or I'm waiting for, you know, the Moderna or any other. They're like, we've got this pile of AstraZeneca, we've got to get used. We need jabs in arms. Let's make this popular somehow. But it's not flying.
Yeah. The key word is fear. There's too much fear promoted by the politicians and by the media, too much fear about the virus, too much fear about the vaccine, not enough rational discussion. Before we go, though, I mentioned, of course, that you mentioned, I think, Nicholas, the extended experience you have in dealing with lockdown. So there'll be lots of Victorians can give advice to people in Brisbane, Sydney, Alice Springs, Darwin and Perth just at the moment. Before I get your advice, though, Nicholas, Kath and Kim had a crack at what happens to you in isolation. Have a look.
Single, loser, eckers, desperado.
I'll look around the room today and I'll see people I barely know and I'll think, wow, that's beautiful.
Do you know what I really miss, Mum? Going to the pub and getting literally legless.
Intimate portraits with David Hasselhoff. Love him. Now, what's on the History Channel? Will I go now? What have I got on tomorrow? Nothing. I better go now.
Nicholas, is that reminiscent? Any sort of anything there that was redolent of your experience in lockdown?
Oh, look, it's not easy, Chris. I mean, that's very funny, but it's not easy to say that having done close to 200 days of lockdown in Melbourne. I mean, look, I would just urge Australians who are in lockdown at the moment to look after themselves and look out for each other. I think it's important to maintain a routine in your day. I think you should make the most of meal times and obviously where you can spend that with your family and go easy on the Dan Murphy orders as well. Indeed. Get out and do some exercise, but also email your politicians and make sure they don't impose or extend lockdowns unnecessarily. I'm sitting here in South Australia. I'm pretty lucky, but I got a grave fear that an infection or two would send Stephen Marshall into another lockdown. He seemed to be eager to do that today, Liz Storer.
Yes. Oh, I so enjoyed you grilling him, although, of course, no actual answers from him or the SA's health minister. But you gave it a red hot go, Chris, and it was fun to watch them stumble all over themselves at least. I just can't believe how eager these guys are to throw their people into lockdowns when we know, I mean, you guys would be well aware of the Journal of Psychiatric Research, who published a study saying that 1 in 10 Victorians at the height of their pandemic had seriously contemplated suicide. I mean, this has such serious repercussions for people's mental health as well as their economies, and yet 1 or 2 cases and back in we go. It's absolutely unthinkable. It's insanity. There's just absolutely no words for it. Yes.
At this presser today, they're talking about wildfire, catastrophic, a tinderbox. It's just, how about we calmly, rationally deal with things and talk about how well we're doing? Anyway, that'll be our mantra. We'll preach against fear on this program. Thanks for joining us again, Nicholas. Pinch hitting there. Good to talk to you again. And Liz Storer, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Chris.